Hey everyone, this is Renee Frey from Talent Q, and you're listening to the Conscious Professional Podcast. More people than ever want to be happy in their career and personal life, but they're going about it all wrong. I'm here to set the record straight and emphasize the importance of prioritizing your mindset. I'm thrilled you're here. Last week, I talked about how I became an ultimate optimist. It was through my awareness of noticing my negative thoughts, writing them down, analyzing them, and then asking myself, how true is that with those statements? Convincing myself that the negative statement wasn't true and reframing my negativity into something positive. Then I did that over and over and over again. I spent countless days, weeks, and months on this, doing this, taking action on this, because I was determined to change. After I recorded last week's episode, I've been reflecting on that time in my life a lot. I've been thinking about how grateful I am that I learned these pieces of cognitive psychology with the help from a psychologist in conjunction with the book that I shared in last week's episode. I'm so grateful because I learned those techniques when I was 20 years old. 20 flippin' years old. That was my initial foundation into personal development and learning what having a growth mindset was. Then, years later, when I became an entrepreneur at the age of 37 with the help of a coach, I dove into the deep end of my subconscious beliefs and my mindset, learning how to change my thoughts, learning about my emotions, how to change them, and really evaluate why I repeat the same patterns in my life through action or inaction. And this time, I learned how to erase all that bullshit negative talk I had going on up in my head. At the time, I'd have 3,000 thoughts racing around in my head every single second, layered with boatloads of negative self-talk. It was brutal to be in my headspace. But today, I'm bringing this up because when you decide to look for a new job, say you have a total micromanager or boss who drives you up the wall, you've reached your breaking point. No matter what you've tried, you just can't handle it anymore, and your manager isn't going to change, and you're going to look for a new job. Looking for a new job is brutal. It fucking sucks. The amount of rejection you will face is insurmountable. So you better have a good mindset going into it. And the crazy part is that this is what most people spend the least time on, their mindset. They face an obstacle, then they let themselves get discouraged, which makes the job searching process even longer, even more dreadful. They turn to panic mode and neglect focusing on reframing their thoughts and changing their thoughts about the situation. If your belief about job searching is there are no jobs out there and you probably won't find one, then most likely you'll be right. Your mind will start to feed you all the reasons why you won't find a job because that's where your thoughts are. Successful people prepare in these situations, and this includes preparing your mindset. Now, let me tell you, I've felt a little panicked before, and I was ready to make a job change because I couldn't handle working for a micromanaging boss anymore. I was working at a recruiting firm, and we were in a satellite office of a huge nationwide conglomerate. So our location, we had about 35 people in our office. Our team was great. We had so much fun. I loved working there. Then one day, the vice president, the highest exec in our office, pulled us together and made an announcement. And he said there were going to be some changes happening. And I'm like, sweet, bring it on. Because I have the attitude that things will be changing for the better. Because remember, I'm an ultimate optimist from last week's episode. I know some of my peers were on the apprehensive side. And you know what? To each their own. But in my mind, I knew I couldn't control any of this change. So I was going to keep an open mind about whatever changes were coming. And in my mind, there's nothing I can't adapt to. I'm like a flippin' chameleon, totally adaptable to my environment as long as I have clear expectations of what is expected of me. And I'm competitive as fuck, so nothing is going to get into my way. I am going to reach my goals. So the VP in the meeting proceeds to share there's a new director stepping in over my team. So Jay, the guy that I was currently reporting to, was no longer going to be my boss. I'm now going to report to Joe. Interesting. I'm just thinking, okay, I really like Jay. He was so kind, friendly, and supportive. Definitely not a micromanager. We actually still stay in touch from time to time. Joe, on the other hand, was super high energy like me, super outgoing, charismatic. He also had this certain intensity about him, but he had loads of experience in recruiting. At first impressions, I really liked him. I liked his personality. I liked him. So I thought, oh my gosh, he's going to be a great boss. In my mind, I was thinking, I'm going to learn everything I can from Joe. He can help me develop further in my career. Well, I think this might have been Joe's first experience managing people because it became a nightmare. He was such a micromanager, needed to know every second what I was doing, what deals I had going on, how many phone calls I was making, needed all the tiny details. It was exhausting. It felt like he was standing over my shoulder as I worked every single day. This is not the style of leadership that I work well with. I'm a driven person. You give me a goal, guess what? I'm going to exceed it. I loved being a top performer. I loved trailblazing and crushing my competition in the office and all my colleagues all across the nation. Now, I've changed a lot since then, but I'm talking about who I was at this time. My colleagues would bitch and complain about Joe and his micromanagement style, saying they couldn't stand it, they thought he sucked, they were going to start looking for new jobs. They absolutely couldn't take it anymore. Well, me being me, I wasn't going to bitch about it. I was going to do something about it. Since I loved my job, I loved what I did, I loved my coworkers. You want to know what I did about it? First, I had to think strategically how I was going to go about letting Joe know that I hated being micromanaged. I had to think of the short-term repercussions, the long-term repercussions, my reputation, and how it would affect our relationship. So many fucking factors to consider. But I wanted to be happy again and not be micromanaged, damn it. After I decided what to do, which I had never had to do anything like this in my career before this. I was scared shitless, but somehow I managed to find some bravery. I didn't want to go look for another job and run from the situation. I wanted to fight, kick, punch right through this because this was my career. So here's what I did. I sat down with him. And our meeting started by me giving him some compliments about what I liked about him and his leadership style. And I shared that I was so excited he was here on our team. And my methodology here, I was going to use the sandwich method. I was going to share some positive stuff, deliver the feedback, and then share some more positive stuff, okay? So I shared some positive compliments. Then I shared my track record of my performance before he started at our office. I had all my performance data with me, my productivity, how much revenue I was bringing in each month, and I was speaking to comparing that to what my monthly goals were. Then I laid it on him. Joe, There are times when I feel like you aren't trusting me that I'm doing my job. There are times when I feel like I'm being micromanaged. I am passionate about hitting my goals, Joe. And as you can see from my history, that I have achieved all my goals and whatever else I said at the time. Okay? I immediately saw a light bulb go on across his face. He had a moment of total realization. I could see it written all over his face. And his response was nothing like I ever expected. He was so apologetic. He dug in and asked me to share specific examples with him. And so I did. He was so thankful I brought this up and communicated this with him. Then you know what happened? He totally fucking changed. No more micromanagement. Crazy. And you know what he said to me in our meeting? He said, Renee, if it happens again, if you feel micromanaged, please pull me aside in the moment because I don't ever want you to feel that way. Then I was like the team hero. All my colleagues thanked me profusely for telling him because they all benefited from my bravery. Joel wasn't a micromanager anymore, and I adored him even more. The first mistake people make when looking for a new job is they aren't sure if they're ready to leave their current employer. All of a sudden, you're in a similar situation that I was in with a new micromanager for a boss, and then you're saying, God, I got to get the hell out of here and find a new job. These people are having a knee-jerk reaction to change. They're having a knee-jerk reaction to the change that's happening to them at work. So, if you're thinking about leaving your company, you're thinking about looking outside for a new job outside of your company, but you're not 100% sure yet, this is what I want you to do. First, please know you are not alone. I've helped tens of thousands of people in your same situation. You are certainly not alone. There are people looking for new jobs all over the place right now as you listen to this podcast. If this had been you, if you'd been thinking about looking for a new job, if this thought has crossed your mind, I want you to do a quick activity. What I want you to do is sit down and write your resignation letter to your current employer. It's not going to go anywhere. You're not going to show it to anyone. You're not going to use it. You're not going to share it with anyone. Yep, I want you to sit down and write your resignation letter. Now, again, you're not going to send it to anyone or do anything with it, but there is a significant benefit in going through this activity of writing your resignation letter. When you write your resignation letter, all these emotions will come up. You're going to feel two ways. Either you will be like, I am fucking done with this place. Get me the fuck out of here. Or you're going to be like, I'm not ready to leave. There's still things I'd like to accomplish here. My work isn't done here yet. This will be an emotional exercise for most of you. I've had some people tell me that writing their resignation letter has made them cry because of all the shit they realized they were putting up with for way, way too long. So if you realize you still have things you want to accomplish at your company and you're not ready to leave, that is awesome because all you need to do is adjust your mindset and figure out how to keep on going there. Address the shit that's bothering you like I did and continue on in your career. Move forward. This is a huge relief because looking for a new job fucking sucks. Now, after your resignation letter is complete, you'll have confirmation if you should stay at your employer or if you should go. Then what I want you to do is take your resignation letter, rip it up into shreds or throw it into a fire and watch it turn to ash. If you're in the scenario where you've determined you aren't ready to leave your current employer, but clearly you've thought about leaving, so there are some things you might need to address. First things first, You need to identify the thoughts you've been having about leaving your company in the first place. The best way to do this is write them all down on paper. Write down why you were thinking you needed to find a new job. I want you to write down every thought that you had, every reason. Write your thought, just get it all down on a blank piece of paper, or what I call junk journaling. Junk journaling is fast and furious writing. Just get all your thoughts out, down, write them all on paper, get them out of your mind. Now, I want you to take a new sheet of paper and draw 3 columns with lines going down the page, okay? New blank sheet of paper. Label the first column, my current thoughts. Label the second column, evaluate. And label the third column, new rational thought. That first column, my current thoughts, is where you're going to write down everything you just junk journaled out. So you're going to move it from your journal page into this column. Then I want you to go through every single statement you wrote, line by line, one by one, and ask yourself, how true is that? And then your response goes in the evaluate column. And I'll walk you through this. So if we go back to my example with Joe, the micromanaging boss, my journal might read, Joe is a total micromanager. He irritates me when he questions me about my daily activities. Feels like Joe's constantly looking over my shoulder. So that's in my journal. I'm writing it in the first column, my current thoughts. Now I'm going to go through each statement that I wrote down. I'm going to read it and ask myself, how true is that? And I'm going to write my responses in the second column under evaluate. All right, so then you're going to ask yourself, to those statements that aren't true, how can I reframe my thought and come up with a new rational thought? So it's going to look like this. You read the first statement you wrote down. Joe is a total micromanager. Then I ask, how true is that, Renee? Then I answer the question. I write it down. It feels true. I feel like Joe is a micromanager because he's asking me all the time about my sales activities that I'm performing throughout the day. Okay, fair enough. This one, maybe there's no need for a rational thought here, okay? Let's go to my next statement. He irritates me when he questions me about my daily activities. How true is that? This isn't true. I know this isn't true because he isn't irritating me. It's the thoughts that I have toward him that are causing me to feel the irritation of emotion inside of me. So I need to change my thinking on this one. Aha! So I've identified a thought pattern that I need to change here. Then for this example, I'm going to move to the third column and come up with a new rational thought. So my new rational thought for all this might be, I need to think is that Joe is my manager and it's okay that he checks in on my daily activities. Okay, new perspective made. If this is the first episode of my podcast that you are ever listening to and you're feeling a little lost after what I've just said, after this episode, I encourage you to go back to the episode titled How to Relaunch Your Personal and Professional Life, where I dive deeper into beliefs, thoughts, and emotions and how they're all related and in our control. So go check that out. Now, that last statement I wrote, it feels like Joe is constantly looking over my shoulder. How true is that? That's not true. Joe isn't actually looking over my shoulder behind me at my desk. These are just how my thoughts are making me feel. So then I need to come up with a new rational thought. Joe doesn't actually stand over my shoulder while I'm working. Okay, great. So after you've done this, some of the things that were bothering you might not bother you anymore after you created that new rational thought. If something is still bothering you, like the one I think is true, that Joe is a micromanager, I would reflect on that statement and ask myself, what would I like to see have happen here? I would like Joe to stop asking me multiple times a day for my sales activities because it's interrupting my work. I could accomplish so much more work if he didn't do this throughout the day. Then I'd ask myself, how could I handle this in a way that would make me feel proud? My response would be, I could have a meeting with him, share my perspective with him. I might be nervous in doing this, but I think it's important to address this with him. Then you sit down like I did, think about your approach, map it all out, and then take action. If you're staying at your company, you'll want to identify your ineffective thoughts, adjust them, come up with a plan on all the stuff that's bothering you, take action, and follow through. On the other hand, if after writing your resignation letter, you have feelings that have cemented the fact that you need to find a new job, I want to let you in on the 5 mistakes people make when looking for a new job so you don't make them too. The first mistake when looking for a new job is your resume sucks. I know you all hate writing your resume. That's why so many thousands of people pay me to do it for them. I want you all to know that a resume is a short commercial about yourself. It's a quick spot. I don't care what level you are. I don't care if you're a janitor or C-level executive. It only needs to be 1 page. Did you know that if you apply to Google and your resume is longer than 1 page, it gets rejected into that recycle bin? Personally, I love that. No one needs all those details. That's what the interviews are for. All your resume is a ticket to get an interview. That's it. Your resume is a ticket to get an interview. If you aren't getting interviews, your resume is the problem. And I can hear all of you already. But Renee, I have all this important experience. But Renee, I've been working in this field for 20 years. But Renee, I've worked for a sexy consulting firm right out of college. Let me be honest with you. No one cares. This is the truth. I'm sure your ego might feel bruised right now, but I'm telling you all of this to help you. Do you want to know what employers care about seeing on your resume? Employers care most about what you've done the past 5 years. They care about your previous 5 years of experience, how it relates to the job they have open. They care about the relevancy of your past 5 years of experience and what you can do for them. How can you help their company grow? How can your experience make their company better? Sure, employers want to see 10 years of your work history on your resume to see if you've been promoted, how quickly you've been promoted, how job hoppy you are, what companies you've worked for in the past, what industries you've been in, but that's it. 10 years max. You probably can't even remember what the fuck you were doing at your job over 10 years ago, so get it off your resume. You can share all the great things about yourself and everything you want during the interview. That's what an interview is for. Your resume is to give them enough information to want to meet you and hear more about you and your wonderful experience. If you give them too much information, that can sway them to make more assumptions about you, make assumptions about your background from what's on that piece of paper we call a resume. Don't let them do that. Less is more. Another big secret that goes along with how people hate writing their resumes, people fucking hate reading resumes too. I have never heard an employer or a corporate recruiter say, Renee, I love reviewing resumes and I've been in this industry for over 2 decades. I've never heard anyone say that. So mistake number 2 is having a long resume. Keep it short. The more concise, the better. The more objective statements on your resume, the better. Be sure to use data to clearly show the results that you've delivered for your company. This is what employers want to see. If you have a 3, 4, 5-page resume, they immediately think you're long-winded, you can't get to the point, or They might think you have a big ego, that you're oh so important, that you have to show all this experience. And then guess what? Into the recycle bin without even a chance for an interview. The third mistake people make when looking for a new job is they apply for jobs they see online. I know. You're probably thinking, how else do I find a job, Renee? Not for applying for jobs online. I know that sounds totally absurd. It's actually not. Now just bear with me a minute. Keep an open mind and let me explain. There are tons of jobs that are hidden out there that you will never see, that are never posted. The reason why these jobs aren't posted are because of tons of different reasons. Someone could still be in the role. Someone could be getting fired. It could be confidential. Someone might be retiring and they might not be leaving their spot until 6 months later. The role might not be urgent to fill. Not all companies have endless budgets to post on LinkedIn, Indeed, and Monster. These hidden job openings are filled through networking and referrals. I want to share a couple real life examples. So I know a gal named Sarah. She was looking for a new job. One day she was outside of her house getting her mail from her mailbox. All of a sudden, John was getting his mail too. She happened to chat with John. They were chatting it up, and she mentioned to him she was open to hearing about new career opportunities confidentially. John's like, "What do you do for a living, Sarah?" She says, "I'm in human resources." Well, ironically, John's dad, Roger, owns a company called ABC Industries and was looking for a human resources manager, which is exactly the type of role Sarah was looking for next. John introduced the two of them. The next thing you know, Sarah interviewed and got the job. Cool, huh? Here's another true real-life example. Alex. He's a golf pro at a golf course, been doing it for 4 years. He decided, I'm going to go back and transition into what I majored in college, which was environmental studies. He tells his dad, Brian, "Dad, I'm looking to transition out of golf." Brian, from his job, just happened to know Jessica, a vice president at XYZ company, and introduced Alex to her. Alex and Jessica went to lunch. After the lunch, a few days later, Jessica arranged for him to go and see the offices. He didn't ever have an interview and was hired and got the job. Alex is now working at XYZ company as an analyst. And recently, the other day, I was catching up with a connection of mine over the phone. And he shared with me, he's an executive at 123 company. He's told me he hasn't updated his resume since 1999, and he's worked for 3 different companies. He has never needed a resume to get any of the jobs he had because all of his opportunities came from his network. And that guy's name was James. So Sarah, Alex, and James' stories are totally true, aside from the company names. I'm sure you can tell I made all those up. This is the type of magic that happens when you tell people you're open to new opportunities confidentially. This stuff happens all the time outside of job boards, outside of job postings, outside of the black hole. And once you start to tell people you're open to new career opportunities, doors and opportunities will start to fly open for you. They're going to fly open and you're going to hear about them when you least expect it. These are the jobs that are never posted because they don't need to be. And they're filled super quick because people are recommending one another. They're making introductions, and when someone goes out of their way to recommend you for a position to someone they know, there is instant trust that you are someone they should meet because of that recommendation. These are also the types of introductions where the employer is even more flexible, and more willing to bend on some of the qualifications that they were looking for. You may only have 50% of the qualifications that they're looking for, or 40% of the qualifications they're looking for. And yes, they still hire you because you came with a glowing recommendation from someone they know and they respect. Your contact certainly gave them information about your personality and character, and the employer is excited about you. You can tap into this hidden job market through effective networking. It is so important to build and maintain professional relationships and be proactive in your job search. I know you have all heard the saying, it's all who you know. In these cases, this is a true statement, my friends. The fourth mistake people make when looking for a new job is failing to prepare for an interview. Some think they can wing it. Again, I don't care if you're a janitor or a C-level executive, everyone needs to practice for an interview. And let me let you in on a secret. You know, I'm all about sharing secrets of what goes on behind the scenes. The secret is, it is not the person with the greatest skills that gets the job. It's the person who interviews the best who gets the job. I'm going to say that again. It's not the person with the greatest skills that gets the job. It's the person who interviews the best. Knowing this fact, you best be prepared. When you are in an interview, your brain actually experiences stress. There's a lot of unknown going on in an interview. You don't know what the people are really like until you meet them. You have no idea what questions they're going to ask. You have no idea what's important to them. On and on and on. You're total unknown. And when the brain is experiencing stress, guess what? It struggles to access your long-term memory. This means you best prepare and run through some interview questions to bring all these previous experiences and wonderful examples that you have back into your short-term memory so you can access them when your brain's under stress during an interview. And I always tell everyone I work with, if you have 10 examples of your work that are highest in scope and complexity, you can plug and play them for any question any interviewer will ask. All you need is 10 examples or scenarios or projects that you have successfully completed in the past. That will be enough to plant in your short-term memory to ace that interview. For any question in an interview, you'll want to answer them in the Star Wars format. Yes, I know you're thinking, I've heard of STAR, Renee, but what the hell is wars? So STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. But what is Star Wars? Is Yoda showing up? No, Yoda ain't fucking showing up. I wish. That'd be super cool. You'd probably get the job. But it's a saying that I created so you remember, because wars, the W stands for what you learned from the situation and how you applied it to situations moving forward. See, when you're in an interview, you're answering questions, and most of the examples you're sharing are going to be results that were success stories. When you add the W, what you learned from the situation and how you've applied it, you are going to knock out your competition, because this shows even when you have success, you are thinking about ways to improve it and make it better next time. You give those examples, Star Wars, you're going to rise above any candidate who you are interviewing against, who's interviewing against you for the same position. Boom. Now, I created an interview cheat sheet for all of you who are listening. You can find it in the show notes of this episode. It is the most common interview questions you'll be asked. It is an awesome, simple one-pager for you to review and help you prep before any interview. So go to the show notes, grab it, and put it in your toolkit. We are now on to the fifth mistake people make when looking for a new job. The fifth mistake people make, they accept the initial salary offer that is given. Don't do this, no matter what. Negotiate something, negotiate anything. If you don't ask for it, you are never going to get it. When you get a job offer, this means the company wants to hire you. Woohoo! Congratulations! Chances are they will try to give you what you ask for because they want to hire you. They want you to accept the job. They think you're the perfect person for the job and the company. So this is your chance to ask for anything you want. Most people think they can't negotiate vacation time or benefits. You think that because you haven't asked for it in the past. I've been doing this for over 22 flipping years, and let me tell you some of the things that can be negotiated. Now, all companies are different. So they may come back to you and say, hey, Renee, we're unable to accommodate your request due to company policy. Fine, fair enough. But you know what? You don't know what they're willing to do unless you ask and negotiate. So here are things that I've seen that have been negotiated in the past. Salary, signing bonuses, PTO, vacation time, remote work, hybrid work arrangement, parking expenses paid or stipend, bus expenses paid, company car, gas card to go with the company car, paid cell phone, paid internet at your house, performance review with a chance for a pay increase at 6 months and 12 months, stock options, relocation assistance. If you can think of it, it can be negotiated. So when you get a job offer and this is the job you were waiting for, you need to sit down and figure out what you're going to ask for. This is your shot. Chances are they are going to try to get you everything they want because they want you to join their team. And if they can't, they are going to try damn hard to get as close as they can. And lastly, I have to remind you that right now, if you're currently struggling in your job search, or you don't know how to write your resume, you don't know where to look for jobs, you don't know how to negotiate, if you don't know how to prepare for an interview, you can now join the waitlist for my career coaching program that will be coming out very, very soon. The program is called Focus, and it will make it as fast and simple and as possible for you to land your next job. I know all the insider secrets, exactly all the tools you need through this process. You won't waste your time with hours and hours of trainings. You'll have access to video lessons and done-for-you templates from what to say when you're reaching out to a hiring leader, all the way to a plug-and-play resume template that I walk you through step by step. So if this sounds exactly what you've been looking for, join the waitlist in the show notes of this episode. I can't wait for this new program and to see all of our listeners that join. So don't miss your chance to sign up. Click in the link to the show notes and hop on that wait list. So the key points from today's episode are: your job searching process needs to start from the inside out. Your resume is your ticket to landing interviews or ending up in the recycle bin. Make sure you're leaving a job for all the right reasons before making a switch. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Please share this episode with someone you love and go make one change to be better than you were yesterday. Live your life with intention. I believe in you. I'm on a mission to help as many people as possible. So if you would, please hit the follow button so we can grow our community of conscious professionals. Whether you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can find the button at the top of the page. See you next week. Cheers, everyone.